So Kobe White is out. Javonte Green is out. Alex Caruso has a hamstring issue and leaves in the middle of the first quarter. This Bulls team is forced to put guys that are playing on and off into big positions, including a second round pick rookie. And the Bulls somehow got the win against the top Eastern Conference team in Barclays Center. Welcome back to the TheSlamDuncan YouTube channel as we gotta talk about this game. The Bulls beat the Brooklyn Nets in a very tight game, but in a very impressive win. I have to say this is one of the most impressive wins I have seen in a very long time from a Chicago Bulls team. And we're gonna break this down. I'm gonna look at a little bit of film, but we gotta talk about the Slash Brothers and their dominance in the fourth quarter. Ayo Dosunmu having a spectacular game, and again, he's just a rookie. We need everything went wrong for this Bulls team, it looked like, through a lot of this game, but yet they still won it. So we're going to talk about that as well. But before we get into it, I'll make sure you hit that like button if you're new to the channel. Hit that subscribe button. Bulls win 111-107. This was just a tight game throughout. Bulls definitely were trailing most of this game. The game started out with the Nets hitting 3 threes, and the Bulls didn't score a point. So Nets opened it up at 9-0 start. And the Bulls just kind of felt like they were climbing uphill after that. In the second quarter, I believe the Bulls tied it, maybe even took the lead, but it just kind of felt like the Nets had control of this game throughout the first half. In the third quarter, I have to say, we need to give Zach LaVine credit for that third quarter because it looked like this Bulls team was going to give in a couple moments in that third quarter. But LaVine not only was scoring the ball, he had 13 points in that third quarter, but he was really passing the ball extremely well in that third quarter. He was finding the roll man very well. It doesn't always show up in the box score and assists, but he had a really good pass to Derrick Jones Jr. off a roll. He found Tony Bradley on a roll. He found Nikola Vucevic for a dunk as well. Like, his passing was very, very good in that third quarter, and it just kept the team in it. And then, of course, Mr. King in the fourth quarter, not Kenny Beecham, but DeMar DeRozan came in at the end of the third into the fourth, and I don't believe DeRozan sat in that fourth quarter. I think he played all 12 minutes, and he absolutely dominated, and I want to get into that stuff. But I have to say, man, this was an incredible game by the Bulls because they hung around in this game where there were just moments it looked like they could definitely fall, or they could definitely fold. There were just moments where it's just like it got to a 10-point lead for the Nets, but this Bulls team stuck with it, and they were able to hang around and not let the Nets go on a big run to, lengthen the lead to like 20 or 25, right? So the Bulls hung around, and then once the fourth quarter came around, we're seeing that this Bulls team is just very, very good in the fourth quarter, thanks to DeMar DeRozan first and foremost, but then also Zach LaVine, who is I still think he's third in fourth quarter points so far this season. So, but I want to look at a couple things here. First off, the rebounding battle. The Bulls got out-rebounded this game, and both of these teams play small. Obviously, the Nets play smaller, but even then, it's scary just to kind of think like this Bulls team was getting out-rebounded in this game, especially in that first half. The first half was not good at all, but I'm looking at this right here, man. The Nets had 15 offensive rebounds, and this was very evident in the first half, and I have to say this was a really big issue because in the first quarter, it was like we saw the defense wasn't too good, but then in the second quarter when the defense started to pick up a little bit for the Bulls, we just couldn't close out possessions because we couldn't get the rebound. And guys like Paul Millsap were destroying us on the boards. Bruce Brown was also destroying us on the board. So that was not really good to see. Also, we did not get that many turnovers, or we did not create that many turnovers. So we weren't able to get out on that fast break all that often, like we usually do against teams, right? We usually force a bunch of turnovers, and that's how we get our fast break points. But we weren't able to do that against this Nets team. And give the Nets credit. They did a really good job of controlling the ball and not giving up any turnovers, knowing that the Bulls, if they get that turnover, they're out and running, right? But even with all this going against them, the Bulls still won this game. Obviously, the shooting percentage definitely helps them, but I mean, look at how many more shots the Nets got. The Nets got so many more shots than the Bulls, and somehow the Bulls still won this game. The Bulls didn't end up making more threes, and the foul line was also a big part of the win, but there are a lot of things here that you kind of look at in the box score, you're just like, the Nets should have probably won this game. And the Nets, I think, definitely were in control of this game mostly. But that fourth quarter came around, and it was just DeMar DeRozan's court at that point. So that was really, really impressive to see. But that fourth quarter, I think it's just showing how deadly this Bulls team can be. As even without one of our best defenders and a guy who I think should be in consideration for the all NBA defense teams right now, and Alex Caruso, who only played, I think, 8 minutes this game, we saw that the defense in that fourth quarter definitely turned up. Now, I will say when it got even further into crunch time, there was some defense that was, it was very lackluster. But either way, though, you were seeing that the defense was doing a phenomenal job throughout this game, especially on James Harden. As we look at the box score right here, James Harden shot 5 of 21 from the field, 23%. He was not having that good of a time. He only hit 1 3 out of his 5 attempts. He only got to the free throw line 4 times, or shot 4 free throws, excuse me. And that basically showed you, like, he is not himself against the Bulls. And maybe he's not himself 1,000% in general, but we saw with James Harden that he was having a tough time. And this is without Alex Caruso. And we were forcing James Harden into some really tough looks. And the biggest thing is that we weren't fouling them either. So really good job by this Bulls team to defend James Harden very well. And Kevin Durant, I mean, there's nothing you could do to stop Kevin Durant. Luckily, he was missing his shots in the first half, or else I thought the Bulls would be down by 15 at halftime. But he was luckily missing his shots in the first quarter, so the Bulls weren't down too far. But we saw him definitely picking up in the third and fourth quarters. As we all know with Kevin Durant, it's basically just praying that he misses. And luckily, he didn't go off for 40 or 50 tonight. So Bulls are definitely very lucky there. But I'm just really impressed with this right here. You're able to contain James Harden to 5 of 21 shooting. He also did not have a good game in the first matchup in Chicago. He did not shoot very well in that game either. So the Bulls are doing a really good job of understanding who they can contain, which in this case is James Harden, right? You can't really contain Durant. He's too good. So contain James Harden. Make sure that you can contain him. And they did a good job of that to come out of the game. And it's just then on. You better hope that Kevin Durant misses, so you've done your job basically, and you gotta do well in the offensive end, which they did. But big thing here is the Slash brothers, or DeMar DeRozan and Zach LaVine. As I just want to kind of go through some film and just kind of show you what Billy Donovan's doing to kind of get these guys in the right positions or right places in the crunch time. It is just a good feeling now knowing that we have two guys that can turn it on at any point in that fourth quarter, and they can absolutely take over a game. And knowing that there's two of them out there just gives me so much more relief, because I don't want just to think that it has to all be on one guy. I mean, either LaVine or DeRozan can take over in that fourth quarter and completely take this Bulls team home, right? So I just want to show you what Donovan is doing, and he's doing just a phenomenal job using the big three and giving him as much space as possible and just letting him go to work, because he trusts these guys. These are the all-stars. These are the guys that are the smartest with the basketball, and he's just going to let them go. So basically what you're seeing right here is just what Donovan's just letting him do in the fourth quarter. And I really like this because you're seeing that Donovan is not trying to make things so complicated, because in crunch time, or when it gets in a close game in the fourth quarter, guys can't always be thinking that well. I mean, it's really hard to like be saying a bunch of stuff at them because the adrenaline's going, right? So you just want to make it as simple as possible and just let these guys go to work. And this is what he's doing. You're seeing that you start with either LaVine or DeRozan with the ball, and they come and set it top of the key pick and roll. But you're also having the other one be the release valve, so that if, let's say, the initial action doesn't work, you give it to the other guy. But the big thing here is that you're putting the other two guys, usually this is Caruso and Lonzo, right? You're putting them in the corners. Or let's say you want to put the pick and roll on the side, you move them, both of the other role players, to the same corner and let LaVine or DeRozan and Vucevic just operate on this entire side. But either way, you're seeing that Donovan's giving him a lot of space, and they're letting him go to work. So right here, it's just simple pick and roll. The action's not there, but they didn't double team LaVine, so no need to pass it out to DeRozan. And again, it's just let him do his thing. This is a shot Zach LaVine can 100% make, and he knocked it down in James Harden's face. So again, you just let them do their thing. They're going to be able to get to their spots. Just give them enough space to allow them to get into their spots to shoot the ball. Again, pick and roll and top of the key, and then this time you see that Dosunmu and Derrick Jones Jr. they decided to move to the same corner. So now DeRozan and Vucevic have this entire side to work with, and it's just let DeRozan go to work. He has Bruce Brown in him. He does the behind the back turnaround jumper that is incredibly hard to make, but he makes them from mid range and he knocks it down. Again, just space the floor. Don't let the other defenders to be able to come at them. And if extra defenders do come at DeRozan, make sure then you pass it off to LaVine, but make sure there's enough space so he's able to get into the lane and drive right to the rim. I like this right here because Zach definitely knew that DeRozan was going in this game. He understood that this is DeRozan's time right now because he was hitting a lot of shots in a row. So Zach's just like, all right, let me bring the ball up so you don't have to exert that energy, and then I'm going to hand it right off to you, and you just go to work. So Zach brought the ball up this time, and you just give it right to DeRozan. Here's a little flare screen set by Vucevic, and it's just, just to get the defense moving so they can't set up, right? LaMarcus Aldridge had to move over a little bit or hedge to make sure LaVine doesn't get a backdoor cut right to the rim. And then this allows Vucevic to get into the pick and roll set and not allow LaMarcus Aldridge to come up and double team immediately. And so here's the pick and roll top of the key. Again, look at all this space that DeRozan and Vucevic have to work with, right? And this time you see that Aldridge is just backing up. Now, if Vucevic went back up to the three-point line, that would have been ideal because he can definitely shoot it from there, and Aldridge is not going out there. But he stays mid-range, which is perfectly fine, and DeRozan gets Harden on his hip, and that's too much space at that point. Bruce Brown tries to come over and provide extra help, but at that point it's too late. DeRozan's going for his shot, and there it is. So this time it's just DeRozan brings it up by himself, and he goes to work. This looks like something that a player that I would like to see the Bulls implement. Not sure if it was exactly because we didn't get to see the full play, but you're actually seeing what looks like a double screen coming up and being set up here by Alonzo and Vucevic. Potentially even it being a hawk set because Vucevic kind of set like a little brush screen right here, and a hawk set would be you would see Lonzo use that little brush screen. He would dive down to the corner here, and then Vucevic would then come up and set a screen, but DeRozan saw that Durant and the other Nets defenders were sleeping, so he's just like, okay, well, if you guys are gonna be sleeping, then I'm just gonna drive through Durant, basically through Durant. Did a good job with his body to make sure Durant can't get up or jump up high enough to block his shot, and used him to shoot him off, and then laid it up and in and won. So again, just good recognition by DeMar DeRozan here. This is something that, DeRozan and LaVine should have the ability to do, which is, yes, we have a set play or a set that we want to run in crunch time, but they have the ability just to be like, no, screw that right now. Let me take advantage of this defense right here. Don't run the play. We don't need to run the play. Let me get the easy point. And as you see right here, DeRozan, smart, recognized the defense was sleeping, drove right through Durant, got the and one. Just, again, high IQ. It's just good to see that we had these guys in the fourth quarter now. And this was right here, just this time, instead of the Nets trying to defend the pick and roll without switching, they instead actually switched. So now LaMarcus Aldridge is stuck on DeMar DeRozan. Now, there are a lot of options here because, as you see, the big three is on this side of the floor, which is good. So it's hard to defend this side of the floor right now if you're the Nets. And DeRozan could have definitely passed off to LaVine and then threw it down to Vucevic because he has Durant on him. But this is also a mismatch right here. Let him go to work. Again, clear out. Make sure that you provide the spacing so that DeRozan has space to go to work and not get double teamed. And as you see right here, this is pretty decent spacing. I would like to see these guys move a little bit more, but it's, again, pretty decent spacing. Alonzo is basically the release valve in this situation. And DeRozan gets Aldridge, who's not that good of a perimeter defender, backing up, and he just knocks it down from mid-range, which, again, that's where he's supposed to be. And right here, this was also good to see because Zach knew that he was basically option number 2 tonight because he saw that DeRozan was going, right? And you see here that the initial action wasn't there with DeRozan and Vucevic. So you know what? You just throw out to LaVine, pick and roll between LaVine and Vucevic, that's also a very good option, right? And Zach sees that it's LaMarcus Aldridge, who's not a shot blocker at all. He goes right to the rim. Aldridge can't block a shot, lays it up and in. Smart decision again by Zach, just seeing that there is no shot blocker and goes right to the rim. I know a lot of people don't like it when Zach takes those like long shots at the end, like in like these moments, right? He'll end up taking a three or he'll take like a step back. But you have to understand, one, they probably don't call the foul in these situations, especially for a guy like Zach LaVine. They'll call the foul for DeMar DeRozan, but they won't call it for LaVine, right? And number two, like, let's say this is Mitchell Robinson. This is a dumb play if this was Mitchell Robinson, right? You do not want to go to the basket when it's Mitchell Robinson guarding the rim. So taking a jumper in that situation would be totally fine. But LaVine recognized that this is Aldridge that we're talking about right now. And Aldridge is not a good shot blocker. He goes right to the rim. He can't block his shot. And just get finished by LaVine. Last but not least, I just kind of want to show this because we weren't able to see this in this video here. But I'm just showing you. It's like Donovan is just giving these three guys as much room to work with, and it's just putting the role players in the corner or on the same side and just giving them as much space as possible. And this is just what you're going to see right now. This is how the end of the game is going to work, and it's very, very effective as you just allow these three guys just to be the entire offense. Let them do their thing. And right here, man, it's just like it's just simple, right? Actually, I think you actually saw this play, so my bad. But again, though, it's just you want these the big three of LaVine, DeRozan, and Vucevic just to have as much space as possible and let the role players be in the corner or on the same corner. And as you saw with the Lonzo clutch three at the end, that he has to be ready, but he also is in the correct spots on the floor, and Lonzo basically hit the dagger from there. That's what we need, right, from the role players like Lonzo and Caruso, or in this case, Io and Derrick Jones Jr. Just be in those spots. Just be ready to catch the ball or be ready to cut. That's what we need. Let these three guys figure out the main offense. So let them create the play or let them try to get the initial shot. And then if the initial shot's not there for them, then the role players have to be ready to catch the ball and shoot. But again, just breaking down the film of this game, which was or just a crunch time film, which was honestly just really impressive because you could just see that the Bulls' composure in crunch time, which used to absolutely be horrible, right? Their composure is at all-time high. Like they know what to do, they know what set to run in crunch times. They're not freaking out like what play do we run. They know what they're trying to do. They know what they're looking for, and they're getting to their spots and they're knocking down their shots. So that's really, really good to see. And last but not least, I want to just kind of talk about here Ayo Dosunmu, man, and also just some other bench guys, because, you know, I said before earlier, like, Kobe's out, Green's out, Caruso left after 8 minutes. So you have to throw Ayo Dosunmu, who has been in the rotation, but he hasn't really played that many minutes, and we're actually even seeing Ayo start to, you know, be the initiator of the offense. He's comfortable handling the ball, which is really good to see. So, but shout out to Ayo, man. He came in and he was the main guard off the bench, and he had an incredible game, 11 points, played really good defense, and I was just really, really happy to see him play really well because, you know, especially with no Caruso, that's tough, man. And just to see that Ayo be kind of thrown into that Caruso role, he played it perfectly well. Derrick Jones Jr. had to play starter minutes tonight. He didn't get to start, but because Caruso went out, Derrick Jones Jr. had to be thrust into the second half starting lineup. But the big thing I saw Derrick Jones Jr. tonight is that he was up in Durant's face. He was not making life easy for Kevin Durant. He made Kevin Durant work for every single shot. That's all you can really do, right? Durant's going to hit his shots no matter how hard he's being worked, but Derrick Jones Jr. made Kevin Durant work for his shots. So shout out to Derrick Jones Jr. for not just playing extra minutes, but having to guard the best player on the opposing team and made life tough for him. And then Billy Donovan deserves credit for this right here. He saw that the offensive rebounding, or they were giving up too many offensive rebounds, and that was becoming a problem. And so he inserted one of his biggest bodies in Tony Bradley to come in the second half and help out the second unit that was giving up a lot of offensive rebounds. And I thought Tony Bradley played pretty well in his limited time and made sure that the Nets weren't able to get those offensive rebounds anymore. And he used his size to make sure that he was able to grab the rebound or tip it out, and he did a really good job getting the ball to to the Bulls and making sure the Nets couldn't go up for another shot. So shout out to Billy Donovan in that move, and also Tony Bradley for coming in and playing well in just 6 minutes of time. So this was a really tough it out game for the Bulls. This was not easy. You're undermanned. You're also very undersized overall, and honestly, it looked like you were undersized against a Nets team that plays small, especially because you had all these guys out, right? And guys were being thrusted into roles that they're not used to being, or not used to playing, and they performed really, really well. So shout out to the bench guys for staying ready, and coming in and playing well when they were being called on. So fantastic win for the Bulls, man. And as you see right here, they're half game out of first for the Eastern Conference first place spot. So I'm very, very pleased right now with how this season's going so far. I was upset about that Rockets loss, but ever since that Rockets loss, I'm just very pleased with how the Bulls have responded. And we got a tough game, I believe, against Denver next. So let's hope we can continue this good basketball and continue winning. So hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure you hit that like button. If you're new to the channel, hit that subscribe button. I'll see you guys in the next one.